Hey everybody, KC here. So Friday morning, Mrs. Content Guy and I were sitting right here in my office and we're having a conversation, and go figure, the house started to shake. And our first thought was a big train, bigger than the one that's going behind me right now, was going through. We have train tracks that run about 100 yards behind our house, and we thought maybe a big train was going through. But it wasn't a big train. Go figure. It was an earthquake, 4.8 on the Richter scale. Now, I used to live in California, so this was sort of a baby earthquake to me. But to people who are unused to the idea that the ground is shaking, it was kind of a big deal. And as we learned by listening to and reading various analyses, it wasn't exactly an isolated incident. In fact, we have little earthquakes around here more than we even realize. The New York Times wrote, last April of 2023, a 3.6 magnitude earthquake rocked the town of Adams Center, New York. And about a month later, a 2.2 magnitude earthquake rattled parts of New York and New Jersey. So what we thought was true, that earthquakes rarely hit the Northeast, well, it wasn't true. In fact, I didn't know this either, there are approximately 1,700 earthquakes in the United States every year. That's something like 4 a day. A lot more than anything anybody realizes. So clearly we're having sort of a natural phenomenon moment. Later today, we're going to go out in our yard, and we have our little glasses, and we're going to have an eclipse. We're ready for it. We're ready to watch it. And it was interesting. Again, thinking to ourselves, eclipses don't happen that often. I'll be like in my 90s the next time that one happens around here. There was a scientist on TV over the weekend saying, well, yeah, it's not exactly true that they rarely happen. In fact, they happen something like once a year. It's just that because 70% of the earth is covered by water, most times when eclipses happen, people aren't there to see it. That's just the way it sort of works out. So again, what we thought was true, that eclipses don't happen very often, just simply isn't so. So I've been thinking about these things in the context of something else we talk a lot about here on Morning Newsbeat, which is the notion of epistemic closure and why it's important to avoid epistemic closure. And basically, epistemic closure is when I want to make sure I get the definition right, it's when you hold fast to beliefs that are rooted in a false and insular reality. In other words, you think something is so just because you want it to be so. Now that's dangerous in business because it leads to making both strategic and tactical decisions based on false premises, which means you end up spending time and money and personnel on things that won't necessarily improve your business, and they put distance in between you and the customer. Not a smart thing to do. Now, I assumed one thing was true about earthquakes and eclipses, but I was wrong. It's best to operate with a clear understanding of the facts and the science. So, not to be disrespectful of some people's beliefs, but an example of somebody thinking something is so just because they want to believe it came last Friday, almost immediately after the earthquake, when a member of the House of Representatives basically went into social media to say that after the earthquake, that God is sending America strong signs to tell us to repent. Earthquakes and eclipses and many more things to come. The thing is, I checked, and earthquakes happen because the tectonic plates that make up the Earth's crust basically push against each other. And solar eclipses happen when the moon passes between the sun and the Earth, creating a shadow that gets cast upon the Earth. Now listen, let's be honest here. I probably have lots to repent for, but I'm not sure my repenting is going to stop the earthquakes or the eclipses. It's best to operate with a clear understanding of the facts and the science and not fall victim to epistemic closure. And maybe repent anyway. That's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.